Thank you very much. What was that? Wow. Well, it's great to be here in Hong Kong for my first time. What a beautiful place just in the few hours that I've been here. It's amazing. It's amazing. Easy to fall in love with this place. I see why you live here. Yeah.
Stay here.
For as long as I can. I appreciate the fact that you speak English, and I apologize for the fact that I don't speak your language. And is it Cantonese? Is that what it is? Wow. See, I am such a huge Bruce Lee fan that I'm really surprised I don't speak Cantonese by now. I've just studied everything else he does. I'm such a fan, you know. Anyway, what an honor it is to be here. Playing a concert tomorrow night, somewhere. Is there anybody here from the concert hall that knows where? My sound guy is around somewhere. He's probably shopping in a music store. Does anybody know where it is tomorrow? Where is it?
It's near you.
What's the name of the place? High Tech. Right, High Tech. At 8:30 or 8?
In the morning. Start from the morning.
So I'm sorry I don't know. I should know. But anyway, I say that to say that I don't want to treat today like a concert. I will play, but tomorrow is the real concert, and it'll be better than today as far as a concert goes. I have a great drummer, J.D. Blair, call him the groove regulator, and a wonderful keyboard player named Steve Weingard, who's played with a bunch of people, from Dave Weckl to Steve Lukather, and he's played with a bunch of people. So we'll be doing some music tomorrow night. But today, I think we have a different type of opportunity, which is we have an opportunity to learn from each other. I'm not going to say this from ego, but I'll say this because I believe it's true. I am doing what a lot of you in this room, probably most of you in this room, would love to be doing. I'm doing it. Doesn't mean I'm the best, good or bad, but I am doing it. And what that is I travel the world doing what I love to do, and I get paid to do it. Right? What could be better than that? Right? The only thing that makes it better is that I get to make people happy doing it. Right? But so think about it. I'm doing what I love to do. I get paid to do it, and it makes people happy. I could guess that most of you in this room would love to be able to do that. So whether I'm the best or the worst, the fact is that I am doing that. And if you would like to be doing that, let's take a step closer to that today. Right? So you can pick my brain. I'm an open book. It doesn't mean I know everything, but I will share with you whatever it is I know. So in a minute, I will ask for your questions. And let's think about it. Let's ask questions designed to take you a step closer to your dreams, whatever they are. Right? I may tell you things differently or give you different answers than the normal music teacher because I didn't learn to play in a normal way. So I don't look at music in what people call normal. It's normal to me because it makes sense. I learned to play music the same way you learned to speak your first language. Right? You learned to speak your first language because everyone around you was doing it and you were allowed to participate. Right? No one ever made you sit in a corner and practice 8 hours a day. No one told you which words to say and you had to say them over and over and practice. All right? If you think about learning to speak, really, no one ever taught you. When we think of what teaching is, no one ever taught you your first language. And to be more specific, as a baby, when you're saying things incorrectly, no one corrects you. They never tell the baby or the 2-year-old you're saying that wrong. So as a little child, you're learning to speak. You never know when you're wrong. No one corrects you. No one makes you practice. Now, if we were to think about music with those rules, we would think that it wouldn't work. We tell our young musicians, oh, don't practice. I'm never even going to tell you when you're wrong. And I'm never going to tell you what to say. How could you ever get good? Well, the proof is that you're all good at speaking. So the answer is you would get good quickly. Why? Because you're free to do it your way. In music, we teach you to learn someone else's way for many years. And to learn someone else's way, you have to practice a long time. Not what you want to practice, what I tell you to practice. And when you're wrong, I'm going to tell you. And then after you practice for a number amount of years, then you get to go back and learn how to play your way. Imagine trying to learn to speak that way. It works, but it's a slow process. It's very slow. I say that because I'm the youngest of 5 brothers. I have 4 older brothers. When I was born, they already knew they needed a bass player. It's funny, but it's true. It really is. I know it sounds made up, but it's true. When I was born, they already knew they needed a bass player. Right? And so that doesn't really make me, in my mind, doesn't make me good. It makes me lucky. Or call it fate or whatever. I'll just be safe and call it luck. I was born to the right people at the right time. And so at birth, I became a bass player. The same way at birth, you became whatever, Cantonese or whatever language you speak, you became that right away. So in that sense, I wasn't really taught in the same way that we think of people teaching music. I was allowed to play. The cool thing about learning a language as a baby is that you are jamming all the time with professionals. Right? We don't tell babies that I can't talk to you until you're better. Right? Go talk to other babies. Right? We laugh because we realize how silly it is, but we think it's right in music. But it really is just as silly. When the babies get to jam with the pros, they become pros much faster. Because the pros are the example. I was lucky enough to get to learn music that way. So I've never not played music. So how do we, knowing that people like yourselves probably weren't born into a band, how can other people benefit from what I was lucky enough to be born into? And the way I found is that the way we benefit is from how we think about it, how we think about music, right? How we think about language is not about, let me say this first. Language is first about communicating. We have something we want to say. A baby learns to say certain words because they have a necessity to say it. They know what they want to say. So they learn those words first. In music, most of us teachers, we're not even concerned with what you want to say. All right? How many teachers ask you, what do you want to say with your music? What do you want to learn? Why did you start playing in the first place? What are your goals? No. We just teach you our method. Learning someone else's method is always more difficult than your own expression. So as teachers, I suggest that we find out what our students' goals are and interests are. So then as like a jazz musician, we as teachers have to be able to improvise. And if we teach them all the things they need to know through what their desires are, they will learn them a whole lot quicker. But just like a language, we need things to say. What do we want to say? What do we want to express? And there's no wrong way to express yourself. I can't tell you that you're expressing yourself wrong at that point. Right? But if I know what it is you want to express, I can help you get there. And I say me just as a teacher. All right? So it makes sense for us teachers and as students to know what we want to say. What is it we want to say with our music? So taking that approach, looking at music like a language is what I have realized that I've done my whole life. And that's why I talk about it a lot. Because when I think about music like a language, all of a sudden the answers are easy. People say, well, should you learn how to read music? I say, should you learn how to read a language? Yeah. Well, then, yeah. Right? Learn how to read it. Should I learn theory, music theory? Well, should you learn how to spell? Should you learn nouns and verbs and pronouns? Yes. Learn it. So when I think of music like a language, it changes things. And then I realize other people who weren't born into it like I am can still benefit from the thought process that I was able to acquire from my brothers. It's thinking of music like a language. So think about it. You get better at talking by listening more than you do by practicing these words over and over. It's listening. Right? In Australia, they speak English, but they do it with an Australian accent. If I spent let's say I spent 2 months in Australia, and then I went back home, everyone would say I was speaking with an Australian accent. I wouldn't even know it, because I hadn't practiced it. It came through listening. So that was a long thing to say. The more we listen, the faster we learn. And babies are good listeners in this way. One of the reasons they learn so quickly. So in our quest to learn to be good musicians, we should have a quest to become better listeners. Right? One told me that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we talk. I like that. Makes sense, right? Yeah. So becoming good listeners is really the key to becoming a good communicator. It's really the key to all relationships. And I don't just mean relationships with people. If you work on cars, you have to listen to the car. You know, if you're a wood carver, you got to listen to the wood, the stones. And becoming a good listener is really the key. So anyway, I could talk and talk and talk. But I'd rather hear what you all have to say or any thoughts. But that's a little bit of my insight into music. I look at music like a language because that's how I learned it. And I believe that everyone, whether you were born into it like me, everyone can benefit from that thought process. So with that said, are there any questions from anybody? Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was born in Hong Kong and I was taught so that to become a classical musician, you read music on the page, you have a lot of tensions and
Yes.
jazz and play.
So you came up through music through classical.
Yeah,
What instrument?
I'm a French horn player.
French horn player.
So I would be very curious to know, in your opinion, how classical musician opens up and
Sure.
fairly expressive.
Right. That's a very, very good question. Most classical musicians that I know have trouble expressing themselves freely because you never practice it. Right? But us jazz musicians who express ourselves freely, a lot of us can't read like you can because we don't practice it. Right? It is true. So you have part of the puzzle. We have another part. It would make sense that we build the puzzle together. Learn how to read, but maintain your freedom. That's my one thing I don't like about the classical system. And I have to be careful when I say I don't like something. I don't really mean it, but the classical approach robs you of your musical freedom. And when I say musical freedom, the freedom to express yourself. That first, whatever I just played, good or bad, doesn't matter. The thing I like about it is it was free. I didn't plan it. I didn't plan any of it. I didn't know how I was going to start, the middle, or end. It was free. And every time I practice, every time I touch this instrument, I make sure I maintain that I keep that freedom. Most people don't. So, and in classical, you rarely get to express yourself, especially on an instrument like the French horn, where I don't know how it is in this country, but in the western part of the world, the only place to play a French horn is in a classical band. Where else do you hear a French horn except in a symphony? At least, in where I come from. So your whole world, to be successful as a French horn player, you have to go through that system. Learn to read, go to auditions, and play perfectly the way someone else is telling you to do it. That's your world. So, on your own time, I suggest you play what you want. But it depends on your goals. Right? I say that because of where I come from. If your goal is to be first chair in a symphony somewhere, you better you do what you need to get there. But for me, if I want to speak a language, I want to be able to say what I want to say. I also want to be able to say what you want me to say. I want to be able to do both. I want to be able to read. But to only be able to read and not express yourself freely is only a piece of the puzzle. If you can't read, you're missing gigs. And you don't even know it. Right? All your friends that know you can't read, when they have a gig coming up that needs reading, they don't even call you. So you don't even know you're missing gigs. Right? So learn to read. You can learn to read music in one day. You think I'm kidding? You can learn to read music in one day. You get good at it over a lifetime. But the rules are easy. 12 notes. Right? 7 letters. 5 lines, 4 spaces. Especially if you play bass or French horn, there's only a few rhythms you'll ever see. And I'm not even saying that to be funny. It's just the truth. Right? Why not learn to do it? It's not hard. It's really not hard. And the fact that bass players don't do it is because we can play without knowing it. I can play top-level gigs without even knowing what the notes are on this instrument. Because to play this instrument, I don't have to know. To play French horn, you have to know it. You'll never meet a horn player that does not know the notes. But I almost guess that I could bring a bass player up right now to play, and they wouldn't know the name of the notes. They know these, but not these. I think you're laughing because you know it's true. I'm guessing, because I've never been in Hong Kong, but I'm guessing you guys are just like our friends at home. Right? And I say that like I'm big and bad, but I was the same way not long ago. Been playing my whole life, but there's a gray area right in here. Right? But I've got some friends that we hang out with, and we push each other, and we help each other fill in the blanks of our playing. So, what I urge you to do, take a passage. I'm sure there's somewhere some French horn repertoire somebody's probably written a French horn piece or whatever. If you have trouble improvising, take a bit of a piece. I might do a, right? And I might do. Now I'm taking that passage that I know very well and becoming free with it. Right? So this is it. I know what those notes are now. Now just mix them up. Right? Ah. The reason I like playing to music is because if I mess up, I keep going. That's important, right? If this wasn't going, when I mess up, I would stop. But if the music doesn't stop, you keep going. Music is like water, and you're trying to learn to swim, right? You don't learn to swim on the side of the pool. You learn to swim in the water. Because if you don't swim, you drown. Right? The music is like water and current. It'll pull you. So I always practice to music. That's key. Now, when I'm learning the notes, the music's not on. If I don't know what these notes are, no, no, no. As soon as I know what they are, right? Not perfect, but once I know, not when I can play it perfectly. Don't wait until then or else you'll never play it. Just once I know what it's supposed to be, I put something on. And it might just be a metronome. It could be anything simple, right? But I like using a pedal like this, which is called a looping pedal, so that I can put in something that I can play with. And it can be very simple. Very simple. And then I might just take a passage like that one and become free with it. Okay? So that's one way that you can do it. The other way is, and this is good for all of us, we spend our whole lives trying to play right. That's a problem. Because we're always going to play wrong. And if you don't get used to it and don't give yourself permission to be wrong, you'll panic every time you do it. Right? But when we walk and we trip, we don't go, oh no, and back up. We just trip and we keep going. Because the destination is the purpose. We're going somewhere. Same with music. You mess up, you keep going. That's why I like doing it to something. If you keep messing up in the same place, then stop. Figure it out. Put the music back on and do it. Right? If you taught me a Cantonese word, you wouldn't say, okay, now you say that, go in a room and practice that word for an hour. No. You're laughing because you know that's silly. But we think it works in music. You would say the word 3 times at the most. Now you would say, let's use it. Because the word is not to be spoken on its own. It's part of a context that has a response to what you say. And until I can understand how to use it and the response and the right tone of voice to you, it's just a word that means nothing. Right? So you can take these passages and just become free with them. Does that make sense? Let me share with you one other thing. Okay? Another reason that a lot of us are afraid of messing up is that we are trying to play from the standpoint of what note is right. we're trying so hard to play the right notes. But you're going to play the wrong ones for the rest of your lives. You should just get used to it. Just get used to it. And you do that by playing every note. All right? So in these Western instruments, there are 12 different tones on them. 12 different notes. But we always avoid 5 of them. If we're in a key, there's 7 diatonic or right notes, 5 wrong ones. Those 5 wrong ones we avoid. And every time I'm playing, instead of playing what I want, I'm playing afraid of hitting one of those 5 wrong ones. That's not free. I don't play that way. I play knowing I'm going to hit some of those wrong ones. But I'm still going to make it feel good. Because my instrument says I am part of the rhythm section. It doesn't say I'm part of the right note section. But we play as if we're part of the right note section. Every note has to be right. Right? This is a feel instrument. My job is to make it feel good. So, back to what I say. Let's play every note, but make it feel good. So, back to this. I could think of this. I can think of it as that scale, right? But I say, for now, throw that away. Let's just play every note, okay? So, I'm just going to start on my highest note, and then I'm going to play chromatically every note, because I want my ear now, I want my ear to be able to hear and recognize every tone. The same way when I learn a language and I learn the alphabet, I learn what every letter does. I don't skip letters. Not in the beginning. We learn all the letters first. In music, we skip letters from the beginning. I say let's learn them all. Because every scale comes out of the chromatic scale. So why not start there? Listen to all 12 tones. You tell me which one is wrong. But can you believe that most of us in this room are afraid to do that? But when you know that you can use every note, that's freedom. But how we use them is the key, right? That note is technically wrong. And if I just do this, if I play this note in a way that does not relate to this, it will sound wrong. But so will the right note. If I play that note in a way that doesn't relate, right? So we think it's all about the pitch, but it's not. It's how you make these notes feel. So if I take this wrong note and play it and show you where it's going, right? Because anytime I hear a note I don't like, there's a note I will like on either side of it, right? So as soon as I show you where that note is going, listen. All of a sudden, the wrong note disappears. Like magic. I bought this trick from the magic store out. But when you show, listen, it's not wrong anymore, is it? Because I'm showing you where it goes. Even if I found it wrong, right? But listen to it get right. As soon as I make it relate, Rhythmically, tone, volume, everything. When I hear a note I don't like, I know that there's a note I do like on either side of it. Right? Listen. So you're never more than a half step away. And as soon as I show you in a musical way, the wrong note disappears. So with your French horn, you might explore the chromatic scale, but do it to music, right? I love the chromatic scale. It's amazing. It's an amazing scale. Thank you. Thank you. So I really urge us to do that, because when you become free with all 12 tones, playing the diatonic ones, playing the 7 right ones becomes easy. And then when you hit one of those wrong ones, it doesn't make you panic, because you practice it. So that's a way of practicing for mistakes in advance. Because most of the time a mistake just means I hit the wrong note. And it really doesn't mean it was wrong. It's just the note I didn't mean to hit. I didn't intend to hit that. But if you practice all of them, it doesn't cause you to panic. And then your repertoire is bigger because you have more words. And it really is not that difficult. It's not that hard to do. That was a long answer to your question. What else? I'll try not to be so long-winded. Yes, sir. Yeah, I practice lines. Yeah, absolutely. Line, yeah. Yes, I do. But here's the difference. I'm gonna make an assumption. You will practice bebop lines based on notes. I practice bebop lines based on how it's supposed to feel. Make sense? So, for example. Like, for example, there's a lot of wrong notes in that. In those chords. But the feel is still there. Right? So I'm going for feel, so I can live with that. So most people to learn bebop would study chords. Right? I would start by studying what is bebop supposed to feel like. Because here's the thing, to learn, and again, this is all my way of looking at it. I don't claim to be right, but I don't claim to be wrong either. To learn a style of music based on notes is a huge mistake. Why? Because the notes never change. Right? A C major 7 is the same in bebop. It's the same in classical. It's the same in bluegrass. The notes never change. What changes is how we make those notes feel. So if you want to study bebop, you need to study the feel of it. Right? So the first thing I would do, if I wanted to solo over this, what does bebop feel like? Something like that. Now here's the thing. When I'm singing that, the notes don't matter to you. It's the feel. Because though I can't sing in tune. I don't know how, right? But you don't care because it feels right. So the next thing I do is as I'm singing, I just allow my hands to follow my voice. Don't worry about the pitch. The pitch will be wrong. So I might turn the instrument off so I don't hear it. I don't care where it's going. I'm just, when my voice goes up, my hands go up. Now, if I can do that and hear, now, I'm not singing what I'm playing. I'm playing what I'm singing. And I'm basing it off of feel. I don't care if the notes are wrong. We'll learn the notes later. We're going to make it feel right first. And what a lot of people are doing is trying so hard to play the right notes that they don't realize it feels horrible. So I start from feel first. Even when the note doesn't match, I still go for the feel. Right? Those notes are wrong, but it feels right. And this is fast for me, right? So, going for feel, I believe, is the right first approach. Which is why a mother can understand her baby, even though the baby is not speaking correctly. Right? It's because of the feel, the tone. The mother will know every sound that baby makes. Not because they're saying the words correctly, but they are communicating correctly. Makes sense? So, if you just, and communicating, I mean, as you guys know in your language, you change the tone or the pitch of a word, it changes the whole meaning. Right? Someone told me that. So, you guys understand more than probably us in our country the importance of the tone and how you make that word or that note feel. So for me, I'm learning that music, the different styles, slap, same way. It's not a technique, it's a rhythm. I don't care what technique you use, play it in rhythm. So I see a lot of people practicing slap, and they're not practicing to anything. They're just learning techniques. That's like learning words and you have nothing to say yet. But as soon as you put music on, it's do you play you play thumb? Come up for a second. From Montreal. Slap for us, Sylvia, if you don't mind. Okay, beautiful. For lack of time, we're going to move fast. That type of playing, and I'm going to be honest, okay? Not to make you feel bad, but I want you to take steps closer to getting every gig. That kind of playing right there will not get you a gig. That kind of, I guarantee everyone who just applauded is a bass player. Right? The people trying to hire a bass player are not applauding. Okay, why do you need a beat to feel it? Okay, if you can't do it on your own, then you rely on someone else. You need to be able to do it on your own. That's the difference. You need to be able to do it on your own so that even if your drummer's not feeling it, you provide the feel. Right? But you're reading my mind. That's where we're going ahead to. Because as soon as I put on a drum beat, it's going to sound incredible. And then everyone will applaud. It happens every time. But here's a better thing first. I can almost guess that Sylvia practices at home like this. when, this will sound egotistical, but I don't mean it this way. When I practice by myself, in my mind, I'm not practicing by myself. So when you hear me practicing, you'll groove to it. You hear the drums, you hear everything. I don't need a real drummer, and neither do you. So do you play with a band? What's the drummer's name? Give me a drummer that you like. Jeff Tang Watts. Beautiful. Imagine Jeff is here playing a funky beat. Okay? So I already know you can play the bass. So now this is not about playing the bass well. If I had to give you a grade, I'd give you a A- for playing the bass. That's a good grade. So you passed the class on bass playing. Now I'm going to test your imagination. Okay? This is something a child would be great at. But as adults, our imagination starts to dwindle. So now let's test your imagination. One of your favorite drummers is the same as mine, Jeff Tang Watts. I want to see how well you can imagine Jeff Tang Watts playing with his drum set on this stage. Meaning you would hear it very well. You might even feel it. The floor might vibrate. So what I want you to do, I want Jeff Tang Watts to give you a funky beat. Let Jeff start first. When you're ready, play with him. Here's the thing that may be difficult. I want zero attention on the bass. Zero. I just want you to imagine Jeff. So even if it comes out wrong, we don't care. I just want to, this is an imagination test now.
Imagination, imagine what Jeff.
But how many, you've heard Jeff a lot, right? Then it shouldn't take that much imagination. You play with him, then it shouldn't take that much imagination. Especially if you've played with him. Now, you're probably the only person in this room that's played with Jeff Tang Watts. Yeah. Imagine Jeff playing some funk. But I want to hear you slap. No, let me change that. Let me change that. Because whatever Jeff plays will tell you what to play. All right? But, here's again, reminder. Don't think about the bass at all. Okay? Your job for this exercise is to imagine Jeff. Okay? Let him play first.
Don't think of it. Listen to Jeff a little more. Listen to Jeff. Listen to Jeff. Don't think of the bass at all. Just think about Jeff. You already passed the bass test. Now it's imagination. Imagine Jeff. I say that. He's nice. He gets soft. When he starts playing more, I know he's nice. He's listening to it. Now Jeff's starting to get fun. Listen to Jeff, though. That sounds great, but make sure you listen to Jeff. Don't think of that. You can play it. You can play it, but don't think about it. Don't think of bass.
Beautiful. So, you hear the difference? So, the only things I told him was to listen to an imaginary drummer and don't think of the bass. So why did it get better? It's because in one instance he's playing the bass, the second instance he's playing music. There's a difference. So you can get better at playing music by imagining it. All right. Now, if I had put on a drum beat, which I could have done here, it would have even been better. But you need to be able to do it by yourself. All right? And that's one way to do it. His timing became metronomically perfect until he did a fancy fill and his attention went to the bass. I could hear it, right? The attention goes to the fill and you rush through it. Or if he starts playing too loudly or too much, I know he's not listening to his drummer anymore. I was trying to whisper every time I say, listen to Jeff, listen to the drummer. He plays softer and less. Less bass, more music. Believe it or not, that's the kind of bass playing that doesn't impress other bass players. But the people that want to hire bass players love it. So if you want gigs, that's the way you play. If you want to impress other bass players who aren't going to hire you anyway, right? Play some licks. All right? Why we want to impress each other doesn't make any sense to me, because we're not going to hire each other. We want to impress the singers, the horn player, the French horn player who gets his all-star band and looking for a bass player for his rock French horn gig. But you know what I mean, right? That may not seem impressive, but if you think of the music out on tour that's making the biggest money, there are no hard bass players, but they all feel good. Yeah. So if you want to make it feel good, you play with people that make it feel good. And if you don't have them, you imagine it. And I urge you to practice imagining it anyway, because now it's coming from the inside. And when he imagines playing with a drummer, he will not imagine playing with a bad drummer. He'll imagine playing with a good drummer. Jeff Tang, one of the best, right? His drummer will have perfect time, which will make him play with perfect time. So that when you listen to it, you go, ah, that's the guy I want in my band. But you do all this stuff, it's fancy and it's cool licks, but we don't realize it doesn't feel good. It's like a beautiful cake with decorated, but you stick your fork in it and it's all icy. You get surprised and realize, I can't eat this. It's empty. Who said that? I just talked for 20 minutes and you nailed it in one word. It's empty. Listen to him from now. If I start going on too long, you just keep coming up with that stuff. It's empty. Yes.
I really love what you're saying about thinking about music as a language. And before I ask you the sort of what to me is the challenging question, but let me back that up. So I'm also a professor. I build machines that learn music and language. I build AIs that learn improvisation.
Really? Wow.
In the same way that, so you ever use Google Translate or Google Translate or Bing Translate? I pioneered that AI technology. I'm from Berkeley. I'm from the other Berkeley. The Berkeley.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
So it turns out exactly the same cognitive learning mechanisms work for music and language. They really
Absolutely.
are incredibly parallel.
Yeah.
That would be a fantastic thing to discuss off there. But here's the, one of the things in studying the cognitive science of this is that there may be certain choices that we're forced to make, and this is what I struggle with. I get music teachers here that argue with me because, like you, I believe in letting kids express and explore before they're forced to do things. And the classical teachers here are like, no, don't let them play by ear. You have to learn to read first. Because otherwise, if you start playing by ear, you'll never learn to read well. And, I had the
use the language analogy.
So I was like being taught in the Northwestern University School of Music in the classical way, but at the same time, my jazz band blues teacher was busily subverting everything that they were saying in the classical version. There is kind of, I don't know how to resolve this, because it does seem to me that you have to make a choice one way or the other. Either you become this phenomenal reader natively, or you go the native music as a language route.
Here's the thing. There's a separation only in our minds. If he's reading something, or if you're reading something and it doesn't sound right, you know something's wrong. That's reading by ear. We never stop playing by ear. We just know how to read. Can you read your language?
Sometimes.
I mean, but seriously, can't you read it? What's your first language?
Japanese.
Can you read that?
It's not a written language.
All right, what's your second language? Can you read it?
Yeah.
Does it stop you from talking freely?
No.
Right.
No.
So music
This is why I agree.
music doesn't have to either. And in every language, you learn to speak it before you read it. Why should music be any different?
I totally agree.
Yeah. But if they don't agree, they don't have to. If that bothers you, that's
longer and talk to more music teachers.
here's the thing. Them not agreeing with you is bothering you. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with me.
The kids that are bothering you.
Here's the thing. If kids aren't having fun, they'll quit. That's the sad part. Someone told me that 98% of people who start studying music quit within 2 years. But how many of us quit learning a language? We all get there. Because the process works. We're allowed to say what we want. So what we need to do is guide our young students. The same way a little kid only wants to eat candy. So you have to sneak the vegetables in. You have to show them why they need it. And when they know why they need it, because they see that you're strong, you're leading by example, they'll crave the good stuff. But to just give them what you think they need without giving them a little bit about what they want, they will leave. They'll quit. Just about anyone, all of us adults that took piano lessons as kids quit, most of them. Because of the process. Not because piano playing is not fun. It's the process. So, what I do is I use the language analogy to support my cause. First thing I say, to me, music's a language. What do you think about it? Oh, yeah. I've never met anyone that didn't agree that music's not a language. So once they say music's not a language, now we can compare the two. All right? Did we learn to read our language before we spoke it? Or should we learn to speak it first? Speak it first. And then you read it. Right? But you start reading words that make sense to you. Like when we buy Rosetta Stone or we buy a second language, they're teaching us words we don't need. That's why we don't get it. They're teaching us words that are in the doctor's office and then animals and stuff. I just want every day. What am I going to use every day? But because the people that build the program don't know what you're going to use every day, they have to teach it abroad. And that's the thing that teachers face. We have to teach in a way that supports everyone. So we have to teach kind of broadly. I can't tailor my lesson just for you. Right? But there's a way of doing both. There's a way of doing both. And similar to what we were doing with the French horn, let's read this pick. Now let's play it free. Right? And it could be that you're bound by your bosses and you have to teach them to read, but the last 15 minutes of the class, we're just going to play. Right? Now, in the end, your students have to be able to show that your process is right. Right? So there's a way, because there doesn't need to be a separation. We're always using our ear when we play. Learning how to read a language doesn't stop you from saying what you want to say. It enhances it. Because the more you read, the more intelligent you get. You learn new words. Learning how to read, traveling the world, learning the rules in life gives you more freedom. It should. But in music, we allow it to lock us up, and that's the classical rap. There are so many rules that we get bound by them. All right. So, state your case, but don't make people have to agree with you. People don't have to agree. All right. Cool? All right, I'll try to go fast.
Try to stay in Hong Kong.
I'd love to stay in Hong Kong longer. Yes?
How to play music with more heart, and how to teach our students how to bring out their hearts better.
Sure. How to play music with more hearts, and how to teach our kids to bring out their heart better. Lead by example, and give everybody the opportunity to do it. The thing is that we are teaching people how to play music by notes alone. That's difficult. That's very, very difficult. Notes don't make music. No one's ever danced to a C. Right? They don't. You gotta do something to that C. Then people dance. Then people feel. So I wrote a book a few years ago called The Music Lesson, and I do know that there are, I don't know if it's Mandarin or what, but there's Chinese versions of it, and I'm honored to say what we did in that book, and it's a story. It's written as the book is fiction. That way you don't have to believe it. If you want the truth, if you want to learn from it, you got to do it yourself. I'm not writing it like this is a true book. It's just a story like Star Wars or anything like that. We don't have to argue over whether Darth Vader's really Luke's father. It's just a story, But the lessons in there are true. There's real lessons. So I tried to do a story like that. So, if we look at music broader than just 12 notes, how can I take these same, maybe 3 notes, but express them differently? Teaching kids that you can use space by not playing, right? And understand, but you have to understand it first, right? Space, the usage of space brings your listeners to you. Where playing more notes kind of pushes them away. Right? If a band is playing, right, and the horns and everything is playing, and you're at the club and it's playing, and you're dancing or whatever, when the music empties out and it breaks down to just maybe a kick and snare, maybe a bass part, and where we come from, we call it a breakdown. When the music breaks down, the audience gets into it more. They insert themselves into the music. Right? Space draws people in. Silence draws people in. And space allows emotion to pour through. If you ask me to just if you say, Victor, tell me about your mother, and I close my eyes and I can't even say anything. Maybe a tear runs down my cheek. That's going to speak volumes. And I haven't said anything verbally, but I've said everything. But if you ask me about my mother, and I say, oh yeah, well, she was born in North Carolina, Edgecombe County, and then she met my dad. You might get information, but what do you feel? Right? So space makes you want to come to me. That silence. Right? And, police use that as a technique when they interrogate people. Right? They sit a guy in a room. First, they just let them sit in a room by themselves. So that they're thinking, oh man, what am I going to say? How did they know? Blah, blah, blah. And then they walk in and they throw a folder down on the table and they sit in front of you and they don't say anything. Usually, people start talking. Because silence, people will feel. And it's the same with music. Right? So if we can show through example how to use other things other than music, scratch that, other than just notes to play their music, not only does it become more fun, but you instantly sound better because we're not just thinking of the notes. Right? Also find out from your students what they want to play, what they want to say, and allow them to have fun. A thing that I do at some of our camps, I run these music classes in Tennessee. One of the things I've been doing lately is the last few minutes of class when we've done all of our exercises, I say, now let's just have fun. We're going to do a thing. Let's see who can play the worst. Right? What happens is you start smiling just like you are right now. And all of a sudden the emotion comes out of your playing. Because something clicks. Because playing your worst for most people just means play the wrong notes. But when you give yourself the freedom to be wrong notes, your rhythm gets better. Your tone gets better. Everything else gets better, just the notes are wrong. But your friend sitting next to you is like, oh man, that's amazing. How did you, you know? And it just gets better. But it's always done with a smile on your face. All right? If I asked you right now to get up and let's do some air guitar moves, right? Right? You'd start smiling just like you are right now, just thinking about it. Because you can't do it and not smile. But when we pick this up, it becomes, I have to do it right. And having to do it right is locking up your freedom. So I always come back to having I have the right to be wrong. That's a bumper sticker, I think. It should be. Give yourself the freedom to be wrong.
Some people, their heart, when you listen to them play, it goes farther. It's like some people in the club only make it halfway across the club.
Mm-hmm.
Other people fill up whole
Okay.
concert halls.
Here's what, instead of talking more about it, here's what I want you to do. The next time you experience that, or don't, ask yourself why. And you might even want to take notes. All right? I play a song called Amazing Grace. People love it, but most people don't know why. I do. And because I know why, I can utilize it. I can manipulate you. Sounds bad and mean, but it's true. And you know how to do it with your language. You know how to make people angry the way you speak. You know how to make people feel compassionate. We know how to do it with language. We need to figure out how to do it with music. Here's Amazing Grace. Why are you clapping? Right? Why didn't you like it? There's no feel. Why is there no feel? But here's the thing. When I play Amazing Grace, at least in the beginning, there's no groove. So it's not the fact that there's no groove. There's no space. The reason you like it is because you hear the room get quiet, right? The other way you start laughing. But when I'm pulling you to me, I know that. There's no real groove, or maybe there is a groove. But I'm staying out of rhythm on purpose. I'm not giving you rhythm that your body can latch onto on purpose. Acceleration on purpose. Wrong notes provide emotion. Right? They pull emotion out of you. Right? This is so major, so that makes you feel something. Other than the right note. There's only 5 notes in this song. In the melody. You can play it with all the black keys. Now you've heard no rhythm, so that when you hear this. That song is easy, but there's a whole lot more going on than meets the eye. Now, as a good musician, that's what you start paying attention to. And most people learn the notes and not the real stuff. Right? So it's how do you manipulate space, dynamics, speeding up, inserting a wrong note, sustain, short notes. That's music. Right? And notes are just, this is 12 of them. And most of us are trying to learn to play music by 12 notes. And you're struggling. But But when you learn, just like a language, right? You're learning all that stuff from the very beginning. But in music, we're not. And I don't blame it. If you learn by ear, you're learning it. If you're learning by the way I learned, listening to records and playing with people, you're learning it. But we're not teaching it.
We're trying.
Excuse me?
We're trying.
Yeah, okay, we are trying. But, so my exercise for you and everyone is when you're listening to music from now on, or just say the next time you go to a club or you, whatever, if something, let's say you're listening to music, you're at a concert, and you get the urge to check your WeChat, I don't know what's out here, Facebook, or you get the urge, and the band's playing, right? Something cause you to lose interest. Pay attention to that. Learn from it. What was it? If you can figure it out, jot it down so that you don't do that on your gigs. You may find out, wow, they just played, the same tempo song over and over, or it's in the same key, or they just did 3 ballads, or there's not enough talking, or there's too much talking, whatever. That's what you pay attention to. Just learning to play your instrument is only going to get you so far. Like me learning a bunch of words, So, you see how much emotion was pulled out of you through space. All right? Again, the melody has 5 notes in it. That's it. But all that emotion. And that's the space and the dynamics. Because if I just played it this way, I didn't do it with the bass line. That's nice, but it's not the same, is it? Because all that other stuff is not there. It's soft. There's rhythm. It's right. But it's how you put all that stuff together. So you work on it really hard. And you'll have your students asking you, how come it sounds different, teacher, And then you can clearly explain what it is. But for us to want to teach something that we haven't figured out ourselves. But it's cool. You can do it. But then you learn with your students. Right? We put on a record. We put on a DVD and we say, what's the difference in this? Something's going on. It's like cooking. There's ingredients that are in there. Why do I like this? Learn what the ingredients are. And, I'm just making stuff up. I don't know if I answered your question. Hey, I think we're just about out of time, but I hate to leave anyone with questions unanswered, so I will go just a few more. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was just wondering whether you could speak about your time field.
Speak about my time field?
Yeah, how you feel about that.
Yeah, having good time is critical, right? That exercise I did earlier where I was adding 1 note, right? That is really nothing more than a rhythm exercise that I use a looping pedal for. I urge all of us, at least when I'm teaching, I urge musicians to understand rhythm at least down to the 16th note. So if our quarter note is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's the quarter note. 8th notes are twice as fast. 16th. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. That's how we say 1 E and a 2. I don't know how you all do it in your music. But I urge us all to learn rhythm at least down to the 16th. If you want to go down to 30 seconds, cool. Because a lot of our music, funky music, especially when we're slapping, we're playing 16ths whether we realize it or not. And if you and I are in the same band and we're both playing 16ths, now we have to agree where we're going to put those 16ths. Right? And if you're swinging yours, but I'm rushing mine, meaning you're behind me and I'm ahead, it's not going to feel good. The casual listener trying to dance doesn't know why, but man, I don't like this band as good as that one. They don't have to know why, but their body will tell them. Right? So you want to be in control of your 16ths so that if you know that I'm swinging mine, you'll start swinging yours. Right? And the more you do it, it'll just be unconscious. Just again, just like a language. But until then, or not even after that, practice them. So I have exercises. I have exercises that help you to develop your own internal time. But like we did with Sylvain, just play with a drummer. Right? We've grown up, especially the younger generation, has grown up listening to metronomically perfect music. 90% of the music on the radio and that we buy is computer-generated perfect time. So we know what it is. Right? Something happens when we go to play it. Most of the time, we're just not thinking about the rhythm. We're playing the right note or the right technique to screw up our rhythm. When if you play piano, guitar, bass, or drums, your rhythm section first. If we don't remember that, then we're going to hurt ourselves. Yeah? Quick rhythm exercise. I know my sound guys back there like saying, shut up and stop. I do clinics, I just don't want to stop because it's so much fun for me. Rhythm exercise. Okay? Okay, that's my metronome. Let's say I want to walk a blues, right? A lot of times, in jazz, we put the metronome on the 2 and 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 4. So I might go. Makes sense, right? Or sometimes I might go. Right? We wouldn't do that in jazz much. If we were playing rock, we go. And we put it on the downbeat. On jazz, we put it on the 2 and 4. But those are the only two places we put the metronome. It's either on 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. But when I say learn down to the 16th note, when there's 16th notes, there's 4 places within every beat to put the metronome. Okay, so if I think 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, I'm now going to fill this metronome on the E, right? And all I do is I start counting on the E. I go E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E. And now it's really hard. Now my time has to be good. So what you were saying before is causing you to lean on your drummer. But what you don't realize, if you're leaning on your drummer to have good time, you're locking him up. Right? When the great jazz band, it was the bass player keeping the time. And the drummer had freedom. Tony Williams was all over the place. But Ron Carter was. Right? So, I want to develop my own good time. So, E and the 1, E. Shoot. Now check it out. Hear the metronome swinging. Metronome swinging, but check it out. Now it's not. That means I know. Now it's swinging. I have total control. Right? Now it's straight again. Swing. Right? Thank you. So that's an exercise you can do with a metronome. Put the metronome on a different beat, not 1 and 3, on the E or the the last 16. All of a sudden we'll realize, wow, my timing may not be as good as I thought it was. But once you just practice that a little bit, being able to groove or walk with it will become easy pretty quickly. Then you want to start improvising a little bit. Because usually when we improvise, our attention shifts away from rhythm into the notes. And we start rushing, right? But when you get to where you can freely solo with the metronome on a different 16, playing with a drummer and just grooving, is so easy, right? So there's no way to get worse doing this. All right? I'll leave it at that. That's one exercise. Yes, sir. You had a question.
I would like to talk from you talking about playing with another bass player.
Playing with another bass player?
Because you're playing very well with Marcus and Stan.
Sure.
And
Thank you.
it's sometimes find it difficult when I'm playing with my bass player.
Yes. You find it difficult.
Range of, it's sometimes hard for us to. We just don't know how we can do things differently.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think what you're asking is how do you play with another bass player, right? For some reason, when we think a couple bass players playing together, it's kind of difficult. But if we think of singers, you know, singers with low voices can sing together. They just have to sing together, not on top of each other. So most times in music, there's only room for one bass part. Most of the time. Sometimes two can work. So the way it worked with Stanley and Marcus, Stanley Clarke, Marcus Miller, and I have a band called SMV. And it worked very well the first time we played together. And that was what made us say, we got to record this. We played School Days together, Stanley Clarke's classic song. And when Stanley went up high, Marcus went down low, and I went in the middle. But if all of a sudden Marcus wanted a solo, and he went up high, I went down low. Stanley went in the middle. And it would just happen without talking. Because we're not thinking bass, we're thinking music. Right? This is just our instrument of choice. To play music. This is a bass, but it doesn't mean we have to play bass. It does mean I'm going to think bass first. But if I'm playing with you and you already got the bass line, I'm going to get out of your way and let you have it. I love you that much. Right? That's what it's about. This is an instrument of service, whether you like it or not. If you don't like that, change instruments. Right? But this is an instrument that makes other people feel good. I'm playing for you. I'm supporting you. I'm your foundation for you to stand on. I got you. I got your back. That's what this instrument was built to do. Whoever made the first electric bass, I doubt he was thinking, wow, I just made the greatest solo instrument ever. Right? It's designed to support other people. So if we're playing together and you already got the support role, then I'm going to go up higher. But if I go up higher and we both have a lot of bottom end on our basses, it's not going to work. The one mistake that I see a lot of bass players do when they play with each other is they don't roll off the bottom end. So if there's this much bottom end with one bass player, there's this much with two. And that's usually too much. So I actually did a band with 4 bass players. With my good friend Steve Bailey, myself, Anthony Wellington, and Dave Welch. 4. Our main rule was whoever's playing the bottom, the bass line, you keep your bass fat. Everybody else, thin it out. If you go up high, it needs to be thinner. Right? So that we're not piling low end on top of each other. So then now think roles. What is my role? Don't think that I'm playing the bass. I'm playing music. What is my role? If the bottom's already filled up, then go to the middle or play the melody. The key is that you're always listening. Right? If we both have low voices, couldn't we still have a conversation together? How? We would listen to each other. Right? I don't even know what to say until I listen to you. So it all comes back to listening. So a lot of us want to be better players when if we become better listeners first, playing becomes easy. Yeah. Did you have a question? Did I skip yet?
One thing I want to tell you that right now in Hong Kong is the biggest Bruce Lee exhibit ever.
Man, someone was just telling me about the Bruce Lee exhibit. It is going on?
It is. It's happening. Heritage Museums.
Yeah.
Now, the quick question was, traits, I think you just answered it, though. People who listen, traits you love in other musicians, like keyboard player. I heard you talk bad things about keyboard before and good things. What do you love about your keyboard player that you're going to play with?
You know what? When I look for musicians is what I look for in a friend. Seriously. And we all know what we want in a friend. I'm not trying to be clever or cute. It's literally the same. What is it? What?
Rapport.
Rapport. See? I'm taking you to every clinic. But every time they ask a question, I'm just going to see what you have to say. Rapport. You want to get along. But getting along is listening. That's really the key to every relationship, is being a good listener. But an honest one. Right? You don't listen, this will sound mean, but you don't listen just because you want to get the girl. Right? You listen because you're interested in what they have to say. That allows you to keep the relationship. The first one might allow you to get it, but to keep it, you got to be honest. Right? So music's the same way. You become really good listeners. So, I like musicians that don't have much of the negative part of the ego. A lot of people, when we think ego and we want to get rid of it, we don't realize that we're only talking about the negative part. Ego is a good thing. Ego is what makes you, you, and me. Ego is the part that lets me say I'm a good bass player without feeling bad about it, because it's the truth. I am. Why can't I say it? Doesn't mean I'm better than anyone else. Something with being artistic means we're not allowed to say we're good. I don't know why. If I say, are you good at math, and you're good at math, you'll say, yeah. If I had two doctors to go to, and I say, are you a good doctor? He says, oh, well, you know, I'm okay, I don't know. I'm not going to that doctor. Right? The doctor will say, I can fix this. I'm coming to you. Right? If I'm looking for a bass player and I got two choices, I say, are you a good bass player? Oh, you know, I'm okay. Are you a good bass player? Yeah, I can do the job. You hire. Confidence is powerful, but that's ego. But it's not bad. Right? So when we want to get rid of ego, we want to get rid of the negative part. So I'm looking for a musician with the positive part of that ego that knows they can do the job. Right? Just yesterday in Guangzhou, Steve, I got a song, you've never heard it. It goes like this. Right? His ego can say, oh no, I can't learn a new song tonight. But his ego says, oh, yeah, let me hear it. Right? And we played it, and it was great. So we'll play it tomorrow, because we had fun, you know. So that kind of musician who's listening. I like a drummer who, when I start getting rhythmic, they hold it straight. A lot of drummers get excited and start trying to get rhythmic with me. It's like if I'm talking and you like what I say, so you start trying to say it with me. It shuts me down. But if you listen to what I'm saying, and if you like it, you accent it, you say, yeah, right on, brother, amen, or whatever. Then it makes me happy, and I keep talking or whatever, and then, now your turn, you go. So a person who's a good listener, plus a person who's capable. But more than any of all that, playing your instrument is who you are as a person. Because we just, right, it seems silly, but when we're on tour, if we're lucky, we get to spend 3 hours a day on stage, including sound check, if we're lucky. But there's 24 hours in the day. If I can't stand you or you can't stand me for the other 21 hours, it will not last. So who you are as a person is key. And I urge us all to work on that first. Yes? You and then you. Yeah, what?
Well, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
So much out of this. It's just been fantastic. I appreciate it. I've got kind of like a two-part question, which is, one, what would you say is just like the main overall motivation for you for everything you do, for why you do what you do? And then the second part is...
The main motivation for me doing what I do?
Yeah.
It's changed as I get older and have kids and things like that.
Yeah. And then the other one is what goals you still have for yourself that you still haven't done, and what process do you go about finding new goals for yourself?
Sure. What goals do I still have, and what do I do to process for finding new goals? Yeah. I mean, I have tons of goals that I still want to do, but a lot of it, my main goals now is Well, I'll just start. Some of the goals, I want to record an acoustic bass record where I just play double bass and things like that. There are still a few people I'd love to work with, you know. I'm a big Larry Graham fan. I know him well, but I've never worked with him yet. I've never played with the drummer Billy Cobham. And I grew up listening to him and learning his drum solos, but I'd learned his drum solos on the bass. Right? Which is where a lot of the things I do on the bass came from learning drum solos. But my goals now, you know, I've got 4 kids, and so, you know, things change when you have kids, you know. And you get to the place where you'd rather see them do it than you have to do it, right? And you start living through your kids' eyes, you know. And so I've been, a lot of my goals have to do now with teaching and sharing. I mean, it just brings tears to my eyes when I see people, you know, I mean, to just use her as an example because she's here, and I hope it doesn't embarrass her. She just came, well, there's a couple of people here, 3 people, who have been to my camps in Tennessee. She came as a vocalist that wasn't even supposed to be able to sing anymore because of an illness, but she sang anyway and proved the doctors wrong, and now is helping other patients who aren't supposed to be able to sing, right? Amazing, right? And that's beyond, you know, separate from anything I've ever done. She came with that. But at camp, she played bass for the first time. And she got bit by the bass bug. So she went home and bought a bass. I love that, right? And I happened to see her play the bass for the first time, and the look on her face of that sheer enjoyment I live for, right? Now, I could have stepped in there because I'm Victor Wooten. I could have said, no, you got to do it this way. Turn that hand, no, turn that hand a little bit. Play, no, you got to bring that elbow in. You know. She wouldn't have gone home and bought a bass. But the people around her just let her jam. Right? She just jammed. And the music, like water, like a current, helped. She's already musical, but she got to experience how to express herself in a new way. Right? And no one squashed it. So she's a bass player now. Right? That's beautiful. I love that. And the cool thing is that happened beyond me. I just was walking by one of the rooms and I looked in there and said, this looks like Mayu. And I walked in to see it. I said, wow, cool, right? But that's cool. I love things like that. Den came to our camps. He came when we were renting a place. Den's from Singapore, right? He came to an early camp when we would rent a place, a state park, to have camps. When we finally bought a place, we bought our own 150-acre plot of land on a river, and we opened it up for any past people who had been to our camps who wanted to come and help us build, because we needed to build buildings fast. And so like an old-fashioned gathering, a barn raising, we invited people. He flew in from Singapore to help us for one weekend, hammering nails and stuff, right? Just to say thank you for doing what we do. But he also took what he learned, and he's now doing his own camps, using music and nature all around the Pacific, all through Asia, right? Indonesia, Malaysia, he's doing it. I love that. I love to see people take whatever we get, and his camps are not mine. He does it his own way, and the way it should be. I got a chance to be a guest teacher at one in Indonesia. The camps had his flavor. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. The same with Angus. You know, the cool thing that I liked about Angus when he was at our camps is, like a lot of people want to learn jazz, which is an American music. But the thing is that what makes you cool when you come to America and speak English is that you have an accent. That's the cool thing, right? But a lot of people want to get rid of that. They want to be able to play music exactly like Americans. It's cool when you blend your style of music to ours. That's what we don't have. All of a sudden, that's cool. But a lot of musicians are trying to get rid of that. Hear Angus play the bass in America, I could tell he was Asian, which made me want to learn what he's doing. To just try to sound like a poor representation of Marcus, we got enough of them, right? But for him to do what he's doing and take a little bit of what we're doing or what we're offering and add it to it. So he's a teacher here. He teaches bass. That's what I like to see. So I love to see people taking from us and utilizing it their own way. A girl that we met at our very first camp went on to become the bass player for Beyonce for about 6 or 7 years until she'd had enough, and she's moving on. Right? The bass player that was at our second camp, I just see him. He's out touring right now with the Jacksons, Michael's brothers. So I'm seeing this, and I'm not taking credit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking credit, but I like to see that go on. That's what's giving me the biggest joys right now. God forbid I don't get to play anymore, but if something happened I couldn't play, I'd still be happy. As long as I can see you play, you know what I mean? And I mean that, I really do. If I can experience, because I've been lucky enough to do a lot. I really have. And I'm at the place where I'd rather you do it now. But I still got it. I got a little left. But I'm like Michael Jordan. I instead of dunking the ball every time, I just shoot a little fadeaway jump. Right? We still win the championship, right? He won 6. But the last 3 was with a fadeaway. First 3 was with a dunk. So I'm in my fadeaway stage. But the same way Michael Jordan made Scottie Pippen, made all those guys better players. That's what I want to do. How could I have said that shorter? To give what? To give way. Yeah. Okay, last one. You had it, yeah.
Thank you, because basically I perceive you now more, not that you're not a bass player, but I perceive you as a bass philosopher now.
Thank you. I guess that's good.
But there's 2 things that's maybe what you say, so it's still slightly different cuts of that. You emphasize freedom, which is really important. I totally agree with that. And you emphasize feeling, which is also really important. But if you're working on something new, you got a band of 5 guys, you got your own sense of freedom, you got your own sense of feelings. How do you bring people together to a place where we feel the same thing? We know what boundaries of freedom within that music to move on.
Okay.
Time is precious.
Can everybody hear that question? No. Yeah. Okay. No. So how do you maintain that freedom when you still have to work on something with a group of people, right? And now there's got to be boundaries or whatever. I'll give an example. Bela Fleck. I worked with Bela Fleck, great banjo player. I've been playing with him for over 20 years. And I'm going to go fast because we're out of time. Bela would come in with a new song. But every time he came in with a new song, he'd say, hey guys, I got a new song. All he would do, he would never say, okay, Victor, here's the bass part. Roy, here's the drum part. Jeff, here's the sax, or Howard, whatever. He would just start playing it. Which gave us the freedom of interpreting his song however we heard it. We got to interpret it fresh, the first thing that came to our mind. If he told us what to play, it's already robbed my first impression. I'm a better bass player than Bela will ever be. Let me come up with the bass line. Right? If you don't like it, change it. He has that prerogative. It's his song. But he's smart. It's like I don't show up at your house and say, okay, we're going to talk about horse racing. Here's what I want you to say. Right? You have the freedom of saying what you want, and the conversation is better because of it, right? So I urge bands to jam together. If you have a new song, just play it. You won't lose your idea. And if it's too far away, then bring it back. It's still your song. Don't worry about it. Right? But the other thing I urge you to do with your band is hang out together. Go to the movies. Invite your band for dinner. That way you know each other, you love each other, and the first argument is not going to destroy the band. Hang out together, right? That's what the Flecktones would do. Go to Baylor's house for dinner, come to my house. There's a new movie out, hey, let's go see it, whatever. If we couldn't do it, maybe only 2 of the guys would go. But we're such good friends that that friendship, that love, that bond carries through the music. And because I love you so much, I'm going to make sure your song is as best as possible. And when you're soloing, I got you, brother. You know, that's the way the real bands, that's not a good analogy. That's the way I like it to be. So if you want that band to have that cohesion, give them the freedom to do it. And then if it's not working, say, hey, try this. I like what you're doing, but try this. You know? Instead of just saying, do this. Hey, why don't you try this? And if it comes down to do this, then it gets there. Yeah, so. If you guys could give me one word to describe music, one word, anybody, you don't even have to be a musician. One word to describe music, what would it be?
Emotion.
Emotion. And you can repeat, just whatever it is for you. Yeah. Life, love, language. There's no wrong words, I'm just curious. Enlightenment. And you can do it in your own language, I don't care. But I just want to see what your word is for you. Message.
Happy.
Spiritual, what was that?
Happy. Happy.
Passion.
Communication.
Expression.
Communication.
Communication.
Life.
Life.
Therapy.
What is it?
Therapy.
Therapy. Beauty. Beauty. Now, for lack of a, because we're out of time, I'm going to stop right there. I've been asking the same question around the world for probably 15 years. And I get the same answers. A lot of times in another country, it's with an interpreter, but it's still the same answers. So as much as I love those answers, I'm not surprised by them anymore. But what surprises me every time, and I know it's not going to happen, or I know it is going to happen, what surprises me not are the words that you do say, but the words you don't say. No one said music was notes, theory, techniques, scales, difficult. I mean, no one, think about it, no one even mentioned an instrument. And we could have kept going, and you wouldn't have. So by your own definition, you know what music is to you. But also by your own definition, when it's time to play, you're not even thinking of music. And you expect your audience to? You want your audience to do what you're not even doing? If you're thinking of the bass and it's not even music, by your own definition, you're not even thinking of music. If those wonderful words is what music really is to you, what do you think should be on the forefront of your mind and in your heart every time you play? Every time you practice? Every time you teach? Every time you work with a band? At that point, it's actually kind of easy. Because the goal is powerful. And believe it or not, you don't have to understand this, but believe it or not, music at that point says, oh, you're listening to me? You feel me? I'm going to help you. And the current of music just pushes you along. And you feel it when you're a beginner. As soon as you start trying to learn, your focus changes. Right? That beginner's having fun. It's joy. It's everything these words said. But then you learn something and that goes away. Which is why when I learn something, I bring it back to that place to make sure I still got it there. And then I learn more. And then when I learn more, I bring it back to that place. That's what I mean by maintaining my freedom. So when I play, it is exactly those words. Got it? Promise to make this short, Jack. Thank you very much. Love you guys. Thank you.
多謝今日所有朋友嚟 Wooten Master Class。咁佢因為今日先嚟到香港，晏啲要休息可能食飯。咁聽日就有 autograph session 嘅，都有 T-shirt 賣嘅，但係今日就佢就唔方便簽任何嘢㗎啦。如果要簽任何嘢，聽日。